Hello, everybody. This is the No Second Chance podcast, and I'm your host, Sydney Braun. I'm the senior at Corona del Sol High School, and today we have a very special guest. We have Special Agent in Charge, Cheri Oz of the DEA Phoenix Division. Cheri, could you introduce yourself, your background in law enforcement, and kind of like what you do in the DEA?
Sure. My name is Cheri Oz. I am a law enforcement veteran. I started law enforcement in the 1990s as a Phoenix police officer, and took me a while to find my footing and what I really wanted to do, and I ended up applying for DEA, and I got hired in 2002. I went and served in Los Angeles and then Miami, Washington, D.C., Seattle, and I finally made it back to Arizona, where I have promoted to the special agent in charge of the DEA here in the state of Arizona. As the boss here, I oversee all of DEA operations for the state, and I also work on enterprise solutions for DEA as a whole, as an enterprise.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's a lot of responsibility.
It is. It's a busy life, but I'm very proud of what I do.
Yeah, definitely. Now that we know who you are and your background, could you mind giving us a little brief overview of kind of like what fentanyl is? How does it like affect the body? How do people get it? Where does it come from?
Sure. So fentanyl is the most terrifying drug I've seen in over 28 years of law enforcement. I have never been afraid of a drug, I would say, fearful. This is one that scares me. It is an opioid that is very, very potent and very dangerous. A very small amount, 2 milligrams, which is a couple grains that would sit on an edge of a pencil, if you could picture, is enough to kill you. And a first-time user doesn't really stand a chance for 2 milligrams. And it's extraordinarily dangerous. It's a powder. It can be put into anything. We commonly see it in counterfeit pills or in powder form mixed with other illicit drugs like cocaine or heroin. Because it's so easily disguisable is part of the reason that it's so scary to me, and also that it's so very addictive. So your options on your first pill is a repeat customer, being an addiction issue, or death. And that, to me, is an extraordinarily bad choice to make.
Yeah, that's 2 terrible options that I don't think anybody wants. And so, all right, now that we kind of know what fentanyl is, let's kind of look at the numbers lately, because there's been a lot of numbers all over the news of how many pills are coming in, how many lethal doses are in the average illicit pill. So nationwide, how many pills did you guys seize in 2024?
2024, we saw our first decline in seizures, and we seized 32 million pills, over 32 million.
That's a lot.
It is. And important to note that what we're seizing here in Arizona is 60% of the total pills seized by DEA throughout the world, really, but really in the United States.
So Arizona is the main area for it.
We are it. We are the gateway to hell, the eye of the dragon, the head of the snake, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
This is where the drugs are coming in and where they're being repackaged and shipped throughout the rest of the United States.
And why Arizona?
Mostly because the Sinaloa cartel is our neighbor. They are just south of us, and they own the routes. For lack of a better word, we hate to say we're owned, but they own the routes, the trafficking routes that traverse through Arizona, and then the distributing routes that go throughout the United States. The Sinaloa cartel is the strongest and the most significant cartel in the world, and they have reached throughout the entire world. They have a presence in, I believe, 47 countries.
That's a lot of power for them. Yeah, and I'm sure they make millions upon millions in profit, which is terrible.
Drug trafficking is a $3 trillion-dollar business. And so when you think about what a huge enterprise, all illegal, but it's all those reasons that they have to keep going. And it's all based in greed. There's not one good thing that comes from drug trafficking. It's greed-based. They prey on people and take advantage.
Now, when did we start seeing fentanyl on the scene? And when did they start bringing it in? And where do these cartels even get fentanyl?
So that's a great question. And I could give you the whole history of fentanyl and how it relates to really we had a pharmaceutical, a legitimate pill issue in America. And we've tackled that, and we've done a really good job getting people on the path to healing and taking care of the overuse, misuse, overprescribing, misprescribing. We've handled all that, and we've done a good job. Not that it doesn't exist, but that ended up being kind of a gateway. It opened the door to, in America, we believe that pills, pharmaceutical pills, are safe. And they are. Like, we should continue to believe that. If your doctor gives you a pill and you go to a legitimate pharmacy and pick up that pill, you should be 100% confident taking that pill. And I can assure you right now, it is a good pill. But any pill that you buy off of social media is going to contain fentanyl. And the cartels saw this opportunity. We were already pill-taking nation.
Yeah.
And they saw an opportunity to put something very dangerous and very deadly and very addictive in a pill that we thought was safe. So we found people using these pills thinking they were safe when they were not. And very soon we had, just having the pills available and flooding our market drives addiction. So we had a big population of people then completely dependent upon upon fentanyl, but looking for these fake pills.
Yeah, that's really bad. Where do they source? Where do these cartels gather like the materials in order to produce fentanyl?
That's a great question. These are synthetic drugs, which means you can make them in your garage, you can make them in a lab, you can make them in a basement. The methods, the science and the chemistry are not very complicated. So it's easy for them to have learned to get a recipe and to learn to make these pills. The one thing that they need is precursor drugs in order to make the equation into fentanyl. So those precursors are available very easily from China, from India, a lot of the European contingents. We have a lot of countries that are, that is their main, I guess, capital way to make money is through chemicals. And that's legal. So there are legitimate reasons to buy chemicals, and then there are illegitimate, that's the word, reasons to buy chemicals. And what we saw was the cartels got this recipe, they found it and then they started monopolizing as buyers of these precursor chemicals. They're making these, and I should say, fentanyl, legitimate pharmaceutical fentanyl exists in the world. It is a great analgesic, which is a pain. So if you are in a situation, surgery, where you're in intense pain, palliative care, terminal care, you would want fentanyl, and you would be under the direction and the supervision of your doctor, who would watch you very closely while administering fentanyl. This fentanyl that's being made, synthetic, being made in labs in Mexico. And when I say labs, it makes you think it's clean or sanitary, and it's not.
No.
These are jungles. This is a basement, somebody's kitchen. They're mixing together chemicals. There's no quality control. So the pills that are coming out, the counterfeit pills, we know that we don't know what's actually in them. They can mix anything that they have available into these pills, and some pills could have 2 milligrams, some pills could have 10 milligrams of fentanyl. And that is something that makes it even more dangerous and deadly, because you don't know what dose is you're getting from each pill.
Especially when they're disguised to look like real, legitimate pills, then you really have to be concerned.
Exactly. And I'm pointing to fentanyl, and we think of those blue M30s because that's what we see most commonly, but it can be made to look like Adderall or Vicodin or hydrocodone or Xanax. The size, the shape, and the color of the pill depends entirely upon what the cartel feels like making that day.
Yeah.
The mixture is never going to be what you think it is if you buy it from social media, if you buy it from a cartel, if you buy it on the street.
Yeah. Like I remember they were doing those rainbow fentanyl pills, made them like all these bright little colors, but that looked even scarier to me. That's very, very threatening.
And it's all marketing, right?
Yeah.
If I can sell you a pink little pill, pink would never hurt somebody. Or if I put little polka dots in there, I make it as pretty as I can. Or I put a different marking, a trademarked insignia on there, something that you might like. Those pills deceived us into believing they were more safe or not as deadly. And the truth is they were just as deadly. People die just as easily from a pink pill with a cute insignia as they would from taking straight fentanyl.
Now, I know when we first started this campaign, it was like 2022, and we saw it was about 4 out of 10 fentanyl pills contained a lethal dose. And then later you guys reached out to us and said, hey, no, it's actually 7 out of 10. It's even more dangerous. But now what do the numbers look like?
So now we're seeing our first decline ever. It's about 5 out of 10. So you have a 1 in 2 chance of dying on your very first pill.
Which is still terrible.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So when we talk about successes and say, okay, well, the potency is going down, we really have to put that into context.
Yeah.
A 1 in 2 chance is not a good number, right? 5 out of 10. I think we have to keep talking about how the potency can be variable. We don't know. There's no way to tell by looking at it. If you brought it to a lab and a chemist broke it down, that would be the only way we would know what was in that pill and just how dangerous or deadly it was. And just to go completely off, what they add to those pills sometimes makes them even worse. Like we're seeing a lot of Xylazine being added to those pills. And if you look up online, you see the videos of people slumped over and they do a dance, I think, called like the fentanyl or it's this horrible zombie making drug. And Xylazine is another synthetic, but a steroid a tranquilizer that is used for large mammals. And so it's always existed in the world. People use it on their horses. I heard it works very well for them, and it's not controlled. We've never really regulated the use of it because we never thought humans would try to put this in their body.
No, it's for veterinary care, right? Yeah.
And now we see the cartels using Xylazine, or sometimes distributors, cartel members here in the U.S., adding Xylazine after the fact to the fentanyl, and they're getting this intensified reaction to fentanyl, which makes it more dangerous, more deadly, because it does depress your nervous system even greater.
Yeah.
And it does not respond to Narcan. And we know that naloxone, Narcan, is a reversal, basically, for opioids in your system.
And most police officers carry that nowadays, right?
Yes, we've done a really good job of equipping our police officers, our first responders, certainly DEA, with the ability to try to save somebody's life, and that includes naloxone.
And doesn't it take like multiple doses of naloxone to bring somebody back sometimes?
It could.
Yeah.
And our suggestion is to keep going until medical help gets there.
Yeah.
Don't give up. If you have a friend who you believe is overdosing, it's important to note that if they're not overdosing, giving them naloxone or giving them Narcan is not going to hurt them.
No.
It is inert on anything else, but it does work very well on opioids. And so you would stay with that person. You're not going to get in trouble. When the police get there, you're not going to get in trouble. And get them medical help and get them taken care of as soon as you can.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. So on the topic of Arizona, how much did Phoenix DEA, how much did you guys seize last year out of, compared to other states, compared to Texas, California? How are you guys doing?
We are number 1. So we are seizing more than anybody else in fentanyl.
Yeah.
So there are other cartels that really focus on fentanyl powder, and we see a larger amount of fentanyl powder in Texas and in California.
Okay.
But they're still not reaching our numbers. They're just higher. So we are seeing actually a greater bit we're seizing more fentanyl powder, which is basically kilos of powder that we know will be put into something else down the line, down the distribution line.
And now I know the prices of fentanyl has changed over there. What if I were to go on the street, how much would an illicit fentanyl pill cost?
So it depends where you are, and it depends what you are buying. So if you buy in bulk, you can always get a cheaper price. And so for us buying in bulk from large traffickers, it was down to about 10 cents a pill at some point. It fluctuates pretty often. 30 cents a pill is what we're seeing right now. It's been on the street, that translates to sometimes $1, sometimes $5. Someplace like Seattle would be more like $20. So it's regional and it fluctuates with the market, how much is here.
Which is also scary to think about because that means it's accessible to a lot of people, and that could put a lot of people's lives at risk.
Right. When you think about, I told a parent one time the price, and this parent had lost their son to fentanyl. And when they heard the price, that was such a devastating piece of information.
Yeah.
Because everyone's child is worth more than a postage stamp. Everyone. I mean, we can all argue that everybody has value. And when you think about how insignificant that cost is, it's just not fair because people are worth so much more.
Yeah, really priceless, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, that's really, really sad. Do you have any other unique statistics or data that's new? Anything else that we have as far as data?
So we are seeing a higher quantity right now of carfentanil, and that does scare me. That's a very recent trend. Carfentanil is even more potent than fentanyl, and so we're keeping our eye on that. I can't say that it's going to be a new thing for the cartel, but it scares me that we're seizing it because people who are fentanyl users, if they use carfentanil, are going to have an overdose situation as well because it's a more potent drug. We are also seeing pills with this compound called BTMPS, and it is a plastic. It's not designed for human consumption, and it is being put into pills. We think, and talked with the chemists, we first found it here in July. And by the time we figured out what it was and started making announcements, we had found it all over the United States. So it comes here first, and within a month of us finding it, we had seized it on the East Coast and on the West Coast and everywhere else in between. So that's how fast it spreads.
Yeah.
And this BTMPS is interesting. We think it was a mistake in the chemistry. We think it was a mistake with the recipes, and that they were trying to, in fact, make a precursor, and they missed. But it is inert, and it does not cause any high or any kind of feeling that you would get from fentanyl, low as it would be. Instead, it just, I guess it tastes really bad, and like bug spray, and makes people itch. So we're watching that as a trend as well. It seemed to have tapered off. I think they've corrected their errors, the cartel has, but we'll see where that goes.
Again, that just goes to show you there's such poor quality control with these illicit drugs.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, that's terrible. All right, to our next section, we're just going to talk a little bit about the DEA in general. Like, what are you guys doing to address the fentanyl crisis? Like, who are you partnering with, for instance, locally?
So we partner with everyone. I don't think we can over-communicate on the topic of fentanyl, and I don't think we can over-educate, and I certainly don't think that anybody who is interested in fentanyl should be turned away. We want to be ambassadors of the truth, and we want to create ambassadors, right? We want you to leave this conversation and go have a conversation with your friends about fentanyl. We talk a lot about one pill can kill, but we're really working towards one conversation can save a life.
Yeah.
And that's the next step. Talking about fentanyl and then enforcing all the laws. We have to hold people accountable. These drug traffickers are focused and driven by greed. Just greed. They make a lot of money and they hurt a lot of people. And so it is our job to hold them accountable. It is our job to bring them to justice. And I can tell you, Arizona is not a good place to commit crimes. If you are a criminal in Arizona, we will pursue you. We are tenacious and we are not stopping. And once we have you, whether we bring you to the state or to the federal government, you will be held to justice.
Yep. Yeah, because they're just fueled entirely by profit, not by the people that they're affecting, not by the people overdosing, getting killed. They don't care about any of that at all.
Nothing. And I just read a statistic that 42% of households have been affected, know somebody who has died from a fentanyl overdose. And I would argue that we're at a time in America where everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who has been affected by fentanyl. And none of those stories are good stories.
No.
You can't tell me one good story about fentanyl except for somebody in recovery. And I would guarantee you that person wishes they never took their first pill.
Yeah. Now, what do DEA, like agents, intelligence analysts, chemists, what do they do and how do they help address this fentanyl crisis?
So we are laser focused on the Sinaloa cartel because for us here in Arizona, that is our source of supply. We know that is our major threat. We know who those players are, and we know their weaknesses, right? So we are attacking them with long-term conspiracy investigations, short-term investigations. We arrest people, we bring them to justice. And we really try to take out the command and control of those organizations. A lot of them are located in Mexico, so that makes it a little more complicated. But many of the Sinaloa drug cartel members are right here in Arizona and throughout the rest of the United States. So we pursue them relentlessly, and we do hold them accountable. In the space of community outreach, education, prevention, we know as much as the E in DEA stands for enforcement. We know we're actually good at that, and that's who we are.
Yeah.
But we've also realized that enforcement is not going to get us out of this. We are in a crisis in America, and fentanyl is taking over, and we all have to be part of the solution. So we've been focused in recent years on being the change, on education, prevention, community outreach, trying to give everyone a piece of the fentanyl problem.
Yeah.
It's our problem. It's the U.S. This is all of us having to work together to solve this. We're not going to arrest our way out of this.
No, there's way too many people.
We need you and people like you to start making good decisions. Be the hero of your own story. Choose your own future. Be the one who says, no, thank you. And encourage all your friends to be that too. Make that cool. Make saying no to anything that you don't know what it is the right thing to do and the thing that you want to do. We eat organic food because we want to be sure about what we put in our body. But we'd be willing to take a pill at a party because somebody who's cute gives it to us? I struggle with that. I struggle because I know that our young people are smarter than that. I know that we are a society of people who want to have good futures and make good decisions.
So I was just going to ask, what does the future look like? But it sounds like you guys are going to focus more on like prevention and community, like awareness efforts.
It's so important. If we take away the demand, the supply is irrelevant.
Yeah.
If everybody says that's not for me, if as a society we don't buy it, we win. It's just that easy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to spread that word while also really attacking the cartels. And I do need to talk a little bit about that too.
Go ahead, yeah. Our
intel analysts, our diversion investigators, our agents, they are working so hard to make sure that we are saving lives. And that's what it comes down to. We are keeping Americans safe. We are focused on doing the right thing and being impactful, both worldwide and really right here in our community. It affects our houses. It affects our homes, our neighborhoods, our schools. Winning against fentanyl will make everybody better.
Yeah. Are you guys looking to hire? Do you need more manpower? Or
what a great question. Yes, we are. We are hiring. And I know right now the federal government is frozen, except for special agents. We are still hiring. We are still looking for people who are integrity-driven, who want to be part of something that is bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Be part of a solution. It is tough work, but it is a really, really important job. We're very mission-driven. We're looking for courageous people, dedicated, integrity, all those core values, the things that we value in people. We will be opening up for intel analysts and diversion investigations, I'm hearing soon, because we're also in desperate pursuit for the best of the best. We want the smartest and the best people to be part of our DEA family and really work towards making a change in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are a really, really cool organization to be part of.
It's so much fun. It really is.
Yeah.
Because we're making solutions, we're solving problems in real time. And there is something so rewarding about going home at the end of the day, knowing that you save lives.
Yeah.
And knowing that you'll never meet the people who didn't take the pills that you seized. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And it's one pill. And they're so tiny, Sydney. They're tiny, tiny pills. And so if you see how small they are and how deadly they are, every time my agents come back with a pocket full of pills that they seize off of somebody, I'm so proud. Because those are pills that my kids didn't get offered. Those are pills that didn't end up in your school or in your community or in your friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how these drugs are getting into kids' hands? I know social media's been playing a big role in it, and once it gets, it's down in Mexico, it's getting across. Maybe even talk about how it's getting across the border too. Some of the ways at it, because I've heard some creative things that we're using drones now, we're using catapults, we're using. Can you talk about some of those ways, like how they're getting it over the border, and then how it's getting in the kids' hands?
Sure. So the cartels are very, very creative with the methods that they use to get illicit drugs into the United States. They will use any means necessary, any means possible. And when I say they're creative, they think of things that you're like, wow. Oh, can you even believe that there's dope inside that thing? We had one that had balls. It was like kids' balls, the kind that like little bouncy balls.
Yeah.
That when you throw them, they light up. And these balls worked. If you threw them, they lit up. They're like 99-cent dollar store items. Inside those, the liquid was not water, as you would assume it would be. Kids' balls were filled with liquid methamphetamine.
Wow.
So you would have to know that, extract it, and then go to a conversion lab and make the final product. We're seeing things like that inside of, concrete pillars, inside of vehicles, in all the voids of vehicles. We see people as still the number one method to bring illicit drugs into this country. So whether that be body carry, internal body carry, vehicles, trucks, we see all that. We are seeing drones. It doesn't matter how high the wall is, the airway above it is still wide open. So we are seeing drones come in and drop things off. Catapults, just throwing things into the United States works as well. You just need a scout to know where that stuff is going to be. We see people walking it over. We still have a large contingent of people who carry a backpack filled with illicit drugs and just walk into the United States. The ports of entries are still our number one, but also the mail. Packages come in from the rest of the world into the United States, and they get screened, but things get through. Tunnels. We still see some tunnels that they're using, which are amazing feats of engineering. And you think, wow, these are really creative and motivated people. But again, it's a $3 trillion business. That drives the creativity.
Yeah.
And what was the other part of that question?
How it's getting in the hands of kids and the social media aspect.
I think that's really important. I try and tell my kids all the time there is no free lunch. Because if somebody is offering you something and it seems too good to be true, it is. And so we're seeing cartels actually targeting kids, teens, and offering them trips to the border. Come be the Uber. It's $1,000. I'll give you if you just drive a package. And the package is going to be things that kill other kids. And nobody would take that job if they knew what they were getting themselves into. Nobody wants to be associated with the cartels. I shouldn't say that. Some people do. But reasonable people would choose something else. Yeah. Social media is a big one. They're on every social media platform that you can imagine. And then friends. here's what I see in colleges a lot of times. We have kids who take Adderall and who really have a prescription for Adderall. And then there are kids that realized or assume that taking Adderall will help them stay up and study, or there'll be some advantage to that. And so we have one person sharing their Adderall prescription that they bought on social media. And so you think you're going to stay up and study all night, but you've just taken fentanyl, and now you're either dead or you have a problem where you need to keep taking, you think, more Adderall. And that is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. People trying to make good decisions, and they were tricked, manipulated into making a really bad decision. And I think it's important to say, too, if you have a prescription, don't share it. Those are your pills. You take your pills the way the doctor told you to take them. If you don't have a prescription, go to your doctor if you think you need one. Like, go get diagnosed and get what you need. Don't take somebody else's pills, ever.
No, this is good life advice for anybody.
All of us.
Any
Yes,
pill.
all
Yeah.
of us. Pills, your doctor gives you a prescription based on you, your height, your weight, what you need, all the things about you that he or she already knows. Those pills are not for your friend who doesn't look like you, who doesn't have the same blood chemistry as you, who needs different things. So those, you should never share. It's a felony, but you should never share pills anyway. It's bad practice. But now in this case, it's turned deadly. You don't get a second chance. You don't get the opportunity to do over. And then peer pressure. So peer pressure is a thing. It's always going to be a thing, and it's real.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm hoping the trend is to make it cool to not use fentanyl, to not use pills. And then trickery also is another really important thing. Thinking that you're taking something that you're not taking. We see fentanyl in marijuana, we see it in cocaine, we see it in heroin, other illicit drugs. It's a powder. It could be sprinkled into anything.
And now on the topic of teens, I know there's like test kits floating around there. So why should teens be suspicious about fentanyl test kits?
So any fentanyl is too much fentanyl. So, and test kits, I get the idea, but they're not reliable.
No.
And the truth is, if you find yourself in a position where you're feeling like you need to take a pill or you're looking for fentanyl, please go talk to somebody and get help. There are tons of people out there who want to be part of your recovery, who want to help you get past this. Nobody wants to need something so badly that they're willing to give up everything else. And that's what we see with fentanyl. People who give up everything in life that they love for something that, if asked right now, nobody would trade in their dog for a pill.
No. Yeah. And on the topic of where people can get help, where could they get help?
There are so many resources out there.
Yeah.
You start with telling an adult, tell somebody, especially in teens, tell somebody and start the path rolling. Get help. You could ask Alexa. Alexa will actually tell you where to go for help. I can't endorse any particular place or because that's not that's not what I do. But I would tell you, just go out there. It takes you very little time. People want to help you.
Definitely. Yeah. You're not alone for
No.
sure. And I know we mentioned this before, but as far as what to do in case you have a friend who's overdosing, you're with this friend alone, you don't know what to do, there's no trusted adult near you, what do you do? Like, what's the Good Samaritan law? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So the Good Samaritan law says you're not going to get in trouble.
Okay.
So even if you've shared a pill or taken a pill or done something that you regret now, you're not going to get in trouble for being there. Get that person help. You are protected under the law. Nobody's going to take you to jail. Get that person help as soon as you can. You can administer naloxone. You can administer several doses of naloxone. If you know CPR, you can engage in CPR. If they're not breathing or you're not feeling a heartbeat, the most important thing is call 911 and get somebody coming to you as soon as possible.
Yeah.
If you give them naloxone, you still have to call 911. You still have to get them medical help. Even if they come back around, there's a chance that they can relapse and re-overdose. So don't think that because they wake up, they're okay. They still need to get medical help.
And like you said, you won't get in trouble.
No, you're going to be okay.
So as far as Narcan, should kids consider carrying Narcan? Would you recommend that for people?
So I carry Narcan. I keep it in my house because I always think I would rather be disappointed than devastated. And so I would, if you know somebody who is using fentanyl, any kind of opioids, it's not a bad idea. I would not recommend kids go out and buy it, but it is available free. There are plenty of resources where you can get Narcan at several locations. If you think that you might, it's better to have it and never need it than to need it and not have it.
Yeah, and there's no side effects if the person isn't actually overdosing.
No, and if you walked up to somebody who you didn't know on the street and they were not responsive, you could give them Narcan. It's not going to hurt them.
All right. So I think we may have talked about this earlier, but as far as gateway drugs, why should young adults be concerned about this and how it could eventually lead them to fentanyl?
Because, and the easiest answer is because fentanyl can be in anything.
Yeah.
Gateway drugs is that weird question when we talk about the gateway. And really what we're talking about is coping mechanisms, right? Like we're all looking to make ourselves feel good as a society. So if you find yourself looking at any substance to make you feel better than you feel, go talk to somebody. Get some help because drug use and mental health go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And we have to start taking care of ourselves every day. So my advice always is if you think you need a gateway, you're probably opening the door to something that is larger than you can handle on your own. And we are not alone. There are a lot of people out there. There's a ton of resources.
Yeah. Now, as far as parents, what do you think parents should do to have a good conversation with their child about being aware of the drug situation out there?
Keep talking about it. And I'm a mom. I have a 17-year-old and an 11-year-old. I talk to my kids every day about fentanyl, and I have for years, since it became a thing. I don't think we can over-communicate on it. I don't think, I know my kids are sick of hearing it, but I feel like if that also, because I want them to know that they're supported. I want them to know that we can talk about it, and I really want them to know that they're not alone. Peer pressure is out there. It's a thing. I get it. And it doesn't go away. Even in your 50s, you still have peer pressure. It is part of life. But you have to find a coping mechanism early. So I would say to parents, have the conversation. And if you have a hard time, you don't know how to bring it up, DEA.gov has a ton of tools. We'll help you start that conversation. People are afraid that if we give kids information, they're going to make bad decisions because now they know it exists. And I would argue I want my kids to be armed with the ability to say no. I don't want them to be tricked. I don't want them to not know something is dangerous and to be a victim.
Mm-hmm. Now, what proactive measures should parents take to limit their child's exposure to fentanyl in the first place?
I think starting those conversations early,
Yeah.
and letting them know how you feel about illicit drug use, because kids actually care what their parents think. I know you guys don't want to pretend like you do, but the truth is we don't want to disappoint our moms and dads. I still don't want to disappoint my mom, and that never goes away. So I think making good choices and letting your kids know what you think are good choices. Also, parenting by example. Be a good parent to your kids. Teach them what you think, what your expectations are, and what you want them to be. Not necessarily what you've done, but what you want them to be.
Yeah, because I'm in a psychology class, and we learn all about, we're in a development unit right now, actually, about how parents have massive influence on their kids. And if parents engage in behaviors like alcoholism, drug abuse, that could make their kids exponentially more likely to engage in those behaviors as adults, too.
Right. And there's the science behind it. But I'd say if you're a parent and you're struggling with something on your own, it's okay to struggle and still teach your kid to do something different.
Yeah.
We want our kids to be better and have more than we do. That's just part of being a parent. And so, and not to say we're perfect, because we're not. We all make mistakes. But just letting your kid know, I expect more from you. I expect you to be perfect. And they won't be, but you can expect that.
Yeah. Try to set them up for success.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you have any other advice you'd like to give to any young people, parents, anything else that you think is important that the world should know?
I would tell all the kids, all the parents out there, there are resources available for you at DEA.gov. Please go there. There's different websites we'll direct you to based on your age. We have educational programs if you want to start a conversation about drugs with your own children in your own home. And while we're on that, talk. Just keep talking about this. This problem isn't going to go away unless we're all working on it together. And then for my teens out there, gosh, I think you guys are incredible. Choose your own future. Please be the hero of your own story. Save yourselves and just make good choices.
Yeah, I think you put it pretty well with that.
There's a lot of like bumper stickers at the end there.
All right. And to end on a good note, is there anything, positive that I think we can look forward to in the future?
Well, I do think we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I do think that we are getting a hold of this, and I think we're going to see as a society that we are going to conquer this and get on the right side of it. For DEA, we have all kinds of things coming up. If you're interested in law enforcement, if you're interested in being part of the DEA, we have a teen academy coming up. We have a citizens academy. We'd love to have you, if you're an adult, come learn about what we do. We'd love to talk about, ourselves, clearly, but also how important our mission is, because it is really a shared mission. What else do we have coming up? That's kind of it.
Yeah.
They could go to DEA.gov.
Okay, that's all we have coming up, DEA.gov.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you very much for this really wonderful discussion. I think this was very, very helpful just to kind of get an understanding of where we're at today in Phoenix and Arizona, the U.S. in general, and also what should parents and kids do. So I think this was a really, really productive conversation, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can have you back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, that is the end for today's episode, guys. See you on the next one.